hot human. Yeah. First I thought it was insane. And then I met the guy and I understood the level of ambition.
What would you recommend for other people that want to start a brand? Like how to go about it, what to think about? Hello, I'm Simon, founder of Høj, and this is Høj Life. Welcome to Lucia. Lucia, she is the genius who has taught me everything about branding. And she's also the inspirational woman that came up with the brand of Høj.
Stop it.
Few questions for you.
Let's see.
So basically, how did it all get started?
Well, it all started with a friend who showed up and introduced me to this crazy Danish guy with this crazy idea of making these super cool high-tech products for preparing, smoking, and storing everything related to cannabis. First I thought it was insane, and then I met the guy and I understood the level of ambition of this guy, and especially also the level of passion that this guy had. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I kind of trusted the guy. Who's this guy? So then after that, buying into Simon, that kind of was the beginning of everything. So we're a team.
Definitely. Like teamwork really do make the dream work, but it's exceptionally important to have inspirational people around you. And like, I had a very bad name for Høj in the beginning that we're not gonna name.
Yeah, it was important that I jumped on board in that one.
Oh, I think it's absolutely crucial, Høj. So how did you come up with the brand?
So, well, at the moment the first challenge was that we had to create a brand that was for in 3 or 4 years time that we were going to launch. So we had to think of a brand that was like future-proof. And imagine we didn't have like competitors. We didn't know where the industry was at the moment. So we had to make a big, bold bet and in a way think of how could we create a brand that was going to lead a market that was still not in place really. And there were no references. So it was a bit of estimating where everybody was going to go and how could we still go ahead of them. So it was a bit of a brave move. The second thing is that we wanted to create a brand that legitimized the smoker and the cannabis industry. At the moment, every time we looked up at anything related to cannabis, it was like tie-dye and like sleepy potheads making jokes. And we were like, we want to create something that speaks more to the smokers that we were or are, that are not necessarily sleeping in our parents' couch and being like a pothead. It can be a professional CEO, it can be anyone. So creating a brand that was more accessible to a wider audience really, and a more contemporary kind of voice as well. So yeah, it was legitimizing smoking, but also our whole industry. So in a way, helping even our competitors to advance, the industry. And then the last thing was finding what was our USP, also in a world that really didn't exist yet. So it was finding what was our unique selling point and how we were going to be different to all these imaginary competitors. So we found that based on all your original ideas of these products were really rooted in combining nature and science, design, technology. And it was always finding about like very smart, simple solutions for everyday use problems or challenges. So we decided to create a brand that felt very innovative and very kind of high-tech, but that merged nature and science constantly. That it's exactly how the products are designed, and it's exactly the things that we care for. So yeah, we based it all in that truth.
Definitely. And you did extremely well, man.
Oh, thank you.
I also think it's like we were designing basically a company and a brand that were for ourselves.
Yeah.
Young professionals, something that we could relate to. something that was an extension of our current lifestyle, but we didn't have anything to relate to. So it was also a super interesting side of opportunity.
It was almost like inventing the thing that we were missing.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was quite an amazing process too, because it was like creating the brand while the products were also
being developed.
So adjusting the brand to the products and so on. Then packaging. It was like a very organic development of everything.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
It's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, it was a lot of hard work, but it was a lot of love into it. So it was very joyful, actually.
So, like Høj, it's a very Danish name.
Yeah.
And actually, I personally must admit was against it in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I wanted, as we were saying, like disassociated from like the current industry, and Høj really means stoned in Danish, really being high in Danish.
Yeah.
So how did you come up with the name, and how did you actually get it convinced through so we actually execute?
Hodge, you mean that? Yeah. Well, it was, I gotta say it was a tough sell, as you know. I basically made sure we did a lot of meetings in bars, and I got him drunk, and I forced him to take this after. No, but the truth is that we did many rounds of, the process was like, we looked at a lot of names and slowly narrowed to 2 options, and then got to this last one. And it was definitely the bravest move. Now I think about it and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, from the other iterations we had? Yeah, for sure.
And it's really brave also, like launching this industry that did not even was quite settled as it is now.
Yeah. Especially in Europe, right, where we are.
Yeah. And then having a name that nobody can pronounce. It was definitely bold. But there were like different things that why we liked, or I thought it was really important to go to that. Well, we did a lot of like nature related, green related, and there was this whole category on Danish words. And Danish words first are like weird and cool looking if you don't speak Danish. They're like very hard to say. So, it's a bit of a tricky area, but the fact that it looks already Danish, it says a lot about the brand. So it was really important that even if you don't know what it is, even if you don't know what it means, you already know it's a Danish kind of product. And that's already doing a lot of the job of communicating stuff about your brand. Then it is short, 3 letters with a weird O in the middle. It's so sexy looking that it was like, I don't think I've ever designed a brand that it's 3 letters. It's like a great logo that it's already like an icon on its own.
Yeah.
And then the fact that no one can say it, it's actually a great thing, because you find people actually having the discussion of how do you say it and pronounce it, and that becomes a talking point rather than a normal name that you just like say and forget. It becomes a substance that people end up engaging a lot more with. And I mean, it gives us legs to even do like a campaign if we wanted, or, like it has strength there. And it also talks about being very like bossy and confident, which is what you need if you want to lead.
Yeah, and exactly to that point, right? It really works both as a brand and a marketing exercise in the same path, which is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, they start to educate their surroundings about the brand when they start to get the packaging, and it gives the pronunciation example of how to use it.
Yeah.
So it really becomes this cool little ecosystem of what we call high society, right? Where people are in the know. Yeah. They're part of our little society, right? So,
yeah.
You are absolutely the person I know in the world that knows how to execute a brand from A to Z most perfectly. What would you recommend for other people that want to start a brand, and like how to go about it, what to think about?
Well, you always have some little steps, but to be honest, every brand is such a different, unique challenge that there's not like a one-way method to go, really. But other than the first thing is really dive in, go deep under the skin of, and try to really understand what's a product or service that you're trying to sell. And only once you do that, then you can and you must fall in love with it. like for real. You have to find love in what you're designing. Only that way you can actually create something that speaks really deeply to your target audience and kind of hits them in the heart, and you create a meaningful relationship with them. Then make sure you're creating a brand that is useful. So depending on what it is that it is selling or bringing to a table, service or product, like what does it actually need to do, and create a brand system that gives you flexibility to communicate and convey that in different ways. And then an important one is keeping it real, because a lot we can get too excited creating a huge brand and suddenly either the ambition of the client is not in the same level of what you're doing, which was in our case, luckily. Or simply you're creating a brand that it's like too big and they need all this budget that then they cannot really make happen, and then you're going to be really disappointed with a half-cooked brand out there. So always making a brand that is exactly the size of what's manageable for the client, because there's no point of doing something bigger that then they cannot do, you know? And then really try to make something new and authentic and fresh. I think that's a huge challenge for designers or creators nowadays. There's so much content out there. We're like so overstimulated visually that it feels very easy to just like look references online and redo what you've seen. And then there's a lot of brands that look the same and a lot of everything that looks the same. Therefore, so really try to like do something different and fresh. That's it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So one of the huge things are, right, so like keeping it fresh, keeping it real, and making sure that it's useful.
Yeah.
At the end, the brand is not what you tell people it is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's what other people tell it.
Yeah.
It's on each other what it is.
Yeah. And also it's going to grow and it's going to change. So, you know, where you need a brand that has like a bit of flexibility to adapt and react to what it needs to do, because you kind of never know in what direction it's going to go. So you need to give it a bit of room for growth.
Very good. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for taking the time, and I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers. This was High Life. Thank you for watching.